Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Season 1 of MARRIAGETOXIN. We can say Season 1 because Season 2 has already been announced. We're getting it in January, so winter season of next year, and I'm excited for that. Getting some things out of the way at the beginning, I am a manga reader. I've been reading for years, so I am very, very much a fan of the series, and I get that out of the way so you know that affects my opinion, my review, and everything, but also to let you know I'm not going to talk about anything that's manga spoilers, anything that wasn't in Season 1 of the anime yet. But I am also going to talk about the events of Season 1. So if you want to watch this yourself before hearing me talk about it, of course, I love the series. I would definitely recommend it. But I wanted to just let you know that I'm going to be talking about the events that happen. So, you know, if you want to see it first and not get spoiled by me on anything that happens, then go do so. But I think the best way to organize a review for this series is to maybe lay some groundwork stuff and then go through the arcs that we got to see this season. And once I move through those arcs, then anything I didn't talk about production-wise I can throw in and, you know, finish things up that way. But either way, to lay the groundwork, this is a series that's based on a manga and adapted by Bones Films. It's about Geru Hikaru, an assassin in this world of hired killers where people have powers that are based on kind of breeding it into them. Over the course of hundreds of years, various families have, you know, passed on specific traits. They've bred themselves in such a way, and that's a, you know, a part of the lore that plays into the story itself, because we get to the point where he is the next head of the poison family and he needs to find a bride or else his sister is basically going to be forced into it. But also he wants to find actual love. He doesn't want to just find a bride. Apparently his family has tried to set him up with somebody in the past and that didn't work out. He wants to have an actual marriage. So he teams up with the marriage swindler Mei Kinosaki, and together the two of them try to go and find him a good marriage. And as far as Kinosaki goes, Kinosaki is a cross-dresser, kind of, yeah, because we're going to see almost all of the time female presenting Kinosaki. I guess, like, again, not trying to spoil or anything, but what we see in Season 1 is pretty much always just femme Kinosaki. And Kinosaki is written in a way that a female lead would be written, to be completely honest. Kinosaki is written in a way that a female lead in a shonen is very often written. So that's where Kinosaki is as a character, but Kinosaki is the most popular character from the manga, my personal favorite character for pretty much the entirety of the manga. So Kinosaki is great. I really like Gero, and something that we get into throughout the season is not just him looking for a bride, but doing so by helping people. He kind of starts discovering more of himself and realizing, wow, it means a lot to me to be able to help people. Not only have I not been treated this way by people before, having people grateful for me and appreciative of me in this way because I've just gone around killing people for my job, but now that I'm protecting people, and now that I'm saving people, and now that I'm helping people, he's discovering a new part of himself as well, and that's something that ends up being an important part of the season, is not just the search for a bride, but the self-discovery. So we start off with the introduction for those characters before we then start moving into the what I usually call the Himekawa arc. And it's only a couple of episodes. In the manga, it's really only a couple of chapters, like maybe 6 at the most. And for me, as a manga reader, this is something that I always said for a long time, was at the very beginning, the Himekawa arc and the Ureshino arc were kind of lighter and simpler and provided a bit less development, especially the Himekawa arc, because it's so short, than future arcs do. For me, again, I'm not going to get into anything spoilery, but I always, you know, think the series starts off with the Himekawa arc. It's very short, it's very simple. Then the Ureshino arc, I think, is deeper, but it's still pretty short and basic. And then they really start cooking with Bug User's Wedding as a quick side thing, and the Dogo Animal Kingdom stuff. And with the exception for one arc that's going to be a long time from here that I also think is just kind of okay, I think it's pretty much all cooking from here. So I'm excited for season 2 and everything else. But that's kind of my opinion. Even now, going back to the Himekawa arc, now seeing it in anime format, it is still that way for me, but I also think I've noticed it even more where we really didn't even spend a lot of the Himekawa arc on developing Himekawa or her relationship to Gero. I think the date that they have is the best part of that, and that's really just kind of at the end. A lot of the Himekawa arc is still establishing Gero as a character, still establishing Kinosaki as a character, and still establishing Gero and Kinosaki's relationship. We spend a lot of time on them. We even spend plenty of time introducing Ushio, almost as much time introducing Ushio as our time spent with Himekawa, but the date, of course, gives Himekawa a little bit more. And so again, this is an arc that we come out of where we get the Ureshino arc after this, and then the Arashiyama arc, the Dogo Animal Kingdom arc. And I feel like of the 3 that we had this season, Himekawa comes out the least developed for me personally. Now, I will say, I really liked the season. This is maybe something I should have put in the general thoughts at the beginning. I really liked the season, but I have a tendency to look at my own biases. I have a tendency, when I've read the source material for something, to be a bit more critical of the anime adaptation, because I'm like, oh, I love this so much. I wish this was even better, or I wish that was even better. This was great, so I don't have as much of that to say. But I can see that bias where there are things like, the pacing here was so good in the manga, and I wish this was captured in the anime. And one thing that, getting into the beginning stuff here, these first couple arcs, that kind of bothered me were the changes in translation. Calling like poison user or water user or bug user masters. I really dislike that translation. And the official translation used users, and literally what they're saying in Japanese, dokutsukai, etc., is whatever insert thing user. I don't like changing them to masters. I think the volume releases did these changes though, including the change from Joshua, which I think, was really well done. It captures the spirit of the Japanese joke and everything. Jaws is a shark reference that pretty much anybody would know, and Joshua is a very common name. But then changing it to Chomsky, it's like, okay, I guess you could say that sharks chomp, but that's not as ubiquitous as Jaws as a specifically shark themed reference. And then going Chomsky instead of Joshua. Joshua's a very common name. The only time I've ever heard Chomsky is, I feel like there's a political commentator or something, and it's like, okay, so you go from a basic, easy to understand, okay, this is the play on words, to lay heckin' Reddit, oh, it's a reference to my heckin' Chungus political commentator. I just think it's a way weaker translation that misses the theme and the directness of the jokes, but also changing things that are unnecessary to change. And a lot of the sentences, I think, were clunkier here watching the anime than reading in the manga. So this is kind of just a translation thing, but I do think there were some things that were clunkier here. I think especially in the Himekawa arc that didn't seem as egregious or noticeable later on, but that's just something right off the start. Then getting into the Ureshino arc, like I said, it is still shorter, it is still a little bit lighter of an arc, but I do think we got into more character development here than we did in the Himekawa arc. I think Ureshino is really well written. Naruko is an interesting antagonist here, and really just the antagonist working for the antagonist, who's Futai. but also kind of being the antagonist himself because he's taking things into his own hands by the end. But Ureshino is such a good character. I feel like her and Gero's relationship is so normal for Marriage Toxin. Marriage Toxin is very weird and very quirky. You can definitely see that in the early stages of the season. But Ureshino and Gero's relationship feels the most normal, I think, so far. I think their relationship was really good. It's really sweet and wholesome and all of that. But also what I really like about her character is she seems shy and terrified of these social situations, but when you look at the actual plot that goes on, Ureshino is always pushing things forward. She's the one that wants to go to the drinking party. She's the one who says, even if my life's being threatened, I want to go do these things. She's juggling college and trying to prepare to take over her father's company. She's the one who wants to go on the camping trip. She's the one who kind of pushes at the end to ask for Gero's number or express interest in him. She is always like shy and everything, but she's putting herself out there. She is trying so hard. And I think that we see that with the conflict with Naruko and everything. I think that she's really well written in that way, and I love that aspect of her character, that she's the one pushing things forward. So I do think this arc had more to think about than the Himekawa arc did, but it is still on the lighter side. Then we get Bug User's Wedding, and I am torn. So Bug User's Wedding for me, I think, is one of the best segments of the manga because we're getting this development here. It's a really, really nice scene with the wedding and all, but also with the speech that Kinosaki's reading out that Gero wrote and then getting into those flashbacks with it as well. We see how big of an effect that Hanamaki, that Bug User, had on Gero. He is thinking of how, and then from Bug User side of things as well, you know, Gero said that he's not a bug or anything, and that had an impression on Hanamaki. That was like, okay, he is a good guy. It's sad that he's in this situation. He seems trapped. But Hanamaki never stopped reaching out to him, being an older brother type of figure. And Hanamaki is somebody who people bring up throughout the season. They're like, you know, it's kind of weird that you're a specialist, but you're going out of your way to help people and do these good things. But you see from the beginning, that's Hanamaki. He is somebody who, though he is in this business, he hasn't let it conquer his spirit. He's kind even to his enemies. He goes out of his way to save people. That's how he met his wife. He is a good person. He reached out to Hikaru to try to show good to him because he felt like he was shown good. And Hikaru can see that the good in him is something that started in Hanamaki, something that he was shown and he was taught, and he thinks that he wouldn't be the person he is now. He wouldn't be able to go out and help people and save people. He wouldn't think about wanting to have a normal life or wanting to have a good marriage and a good relationship. He wouldn't think about these things. He wouldn't appreciate these things. He would have probably lost himself. He would have probably just been another evil, inhuman killer like they say the five great families are, if not for the kindness shown to him by Hanamaki. And we see how much that means to Gero through the speech as he's fighting the bomb guy. And it's just such a beautiful story, such a beautiful scene. I really, really love it. And it's so core to the main character and what his character is. And so for me, you saw at the end of the Ureshino arc how they just popped off visually. If there was any episode I would have wanted them to do that for, it would be Bug User's Wedding. I would have wanted them to go crazy with the direction, crazy with the animation, because this, I think, is a really, really important thing. And it was fine. It was the weakest animation. It didn't look bad, but it was definitely the weakest animation, definitely the weakest production quality of the season on an episode that I thought should have had the strongest. And that hurts for me because I really, really, really wanted them to go all out for Bug User's Wedding. But again, it's fine. Anime only seemed to like it, which again means it's done its job. But still, I I kind of wish for more because I love that part of the story so much. And then from there we get the introduction of Peachy and going into the Dogo Animal Kingdom arc, which is, I think, a wider, deeper arc to go into, and it's a little bit on the longer side. It takes up generally the back half of the season, and it's really, really good. I like all the characters introduced here. I like Byakko and Toshiro as antagonists. They're very, very good. Some of Toshiro's like stuff where he was in the cave just ranting at Geto, like, get mad, get angry, I've kidnapped this person. The reintroduction of Ushio, bringing her in for this, everybody and all the fights they go through, the bird ball guy, there's so much really funny comedy, like between the bird ball guy and then Kinosaki having to deal with Byakko in the bear costume and everything. There's so much there that's really, really funny, but also so much story that's very good. Arashiyama is a very lovable character and just such a bright, shining ray of sunshine. She is so, so good. Sirius is super cute as well. I love all of that stuff. So that's really good start to finish when it comes to that arc. And one thing that I've always loved about that arc, and that I wonder how more anime onlys think about that. I haven't watched enough reactions or anything, especially getting toward the end of the season. I wonder how they think about it, but one thing that I loved when reading that in the manga was this whole time we didn't know how long the series was going to be, and it feels like, okay, we are getting into one of the top 5 families already. We are getting into the beast user already. We're getting into Toshiro, and he is an interesting, good antagonist and everything. So it's like, okay, we're getting into the 5 great families already. This might be a quicker story and all. And then at the end, Tonako shows up, and everybody in the manga seems so terrified and everything, and the anime does okay showing everybody scared and everything, and she seems to fly off, and there's a huge like pillar of smoke and everything. So it kind of presents how strong she is a little bit, but it's this feeling of, again, not to spoil anything, but Tonako, from what we've seen on the battle shonen side of things, Tonako is at an entirely new level from anything we have seen in season 1. And so we spend this time thinking, this is one of the 5 great families. This guy is nuts as a villain and everything. We have this big fight where, honestly, from the manga, I remembered Peachy and Ushio playing much more of a role than they actually played. But I guess not. We have him, and then we get this twist that no, he just went off and said, I'm the beast user and everything. He was just a member of the main family plaguing king over this little island. He wasn't the actual rightful head of the beast clan or anything. That's Tonako. She's at a completely different level. You were messing with a beast user. She is like the beast user. When I thought at first Toshiro was the beast user. But if anybody is, it's her. So we get this introduction that makes you think, oh wow, the world is much bigger and this story has much more to tell. So I thought that was such a very, very good twist. There were some things though with the adaptation where there are times when I've read things and then watched the anime adapting it, and I've thought, I didn't read it that way. And so it's like, did I not understand the manga that well? Or did the anime not understand? There were a few things that, okay, one that I would say is an example of that, and one that I think is maybe just people misreading the way the anime showed things. Maybe the anime didn't show things in the best way. The first that I'm talking about as an example of that is there's a panel when you have Monster Toshiro and he's getting ready to attack and he's stopped from attacking Mei, and he's like, what's going on? What are they doing? And then he thinks, he's like, oh, they're calling out to their partners within me and it's stopping me from moving. And the panel that we see to present that is him thinking that we see the coyote or something within him, or African wild dog or something, jumping forward into the arms of the one prisoner branch member guy. And it seemed like that was just, a visualization of what he was thinking, to show us how he was imagining the situation of, oh, that's what they're doing, they're calling out, and that's what's stopping me from moving. But in the anime, they have like the actual literal spirits of the animals coming out of them, and it seems like everybody can see them, and they're running up to the people. So I was thinking, was that something that the manga was saying was like literally happening? Because in the manga, it reads very much as, that's just a visualization of what's happening. It's not that there's literally the animal ghost jumping out or anything, but then the anime presents it as literal animal ghosts. And I'm like, did the people making the anime misinterpret it, or was I misinterpreting it? But an example of something different is that what seems to have happened in the canon, again, from what we get from like volume bonuses and stuff, is Toshiro receives the bat. And then from there, he's like, screw these guys. I'm going to go and become great on my own. They don't trust me. They're afraid of me. They think I will take over the family. That's why they're only giving me a bat. And he goes, he becomes an expert in biology, and he starts running his experiments on the Dogo Animal Kingdom, on that island. So in the anime, when he's thinking about, oh, they are just giving this to me because they're scared. They're scared that I'm going to take them all out. They're scared that I'll conquer this place and become the Beast Master myself. They show in his speech with that, it seems like a little kid him is killing everybody. Like, they show little kid him covered in blood. And I think the anime was just showing this is his idea of what's happening. His idea is, oh, they're afraid of me. They're afraid of me conquering them and killing them all. And so he's imagining this. But I've seen people reacting to it take that as literal, like he literally, as a little kid, slaughtered that room of people. But I don't think he did, because that's the actual beast user, the actual head of the clan. Little kid Toshiro, I don't think actually killed him there. Or this household of people. I'm pretty sure he just took the bat and was like really angry. And again, all that stuff was just visualizations of what he was thinking. And then he goes off, becomes, again, expert in biology, starts doing his experiments and everything. And at whatever point, the beast user dies and Tonoko is named as the new head. I don't think he actually slaughters that room of people there as a kid. But that's something where the anime did it in a way where you could read it as literal. So that's something that's a bit difficult to deal with. But then at the end of the season, we get the adaptation of the sort of May marriage advisor chapter, which is neat and cute and all. And it's actually a good way to cap off the season with May and Gero and their journey and everything. And I had completely forgot about that coming after the Dogo Animal Kingdom. So that's a good way to end off the season. And of course, we start off, well, not really start off, but we end things with the hint for next season being that Hikaru is meeting with Akari, his sister, and Teruaki is getting involved. We saw the three of them together a lot in flashbacks, being raised together throughout the season whenever we saw like young Hikaru. So we're getting into Gero family stuff, and that's what we're left with as our cliffhanger to get ready for season 2. So that's where we end. And again, I think that they were cooking this season. It was very good, but it gets me excited because they cooked for this season, and I have always considered these earlier parts to be the lighter, in terms of story, simpler, quicker, shorter parts, and it only kind of kicks off and gets better from here, really. So it gets me excited for the future because I think basically every arc after this is just absolutely cooking like the Dogo Animal Kingdom was. So I am excited for the future a lot, especially next season. Next season is probably going to be adapting a ton that I love. I just hope that they don't rush it. I don't want them to rush the adaptation. I want them to take their time with it, because rushed adaptations have really killed so many things that I love and enjoy. So to talk about the production quality just a little bit at the end, anything I might not have hit. It was mostly very, very good. But with Bones, it was much like Hero Academia, which is one of my favorite anime and manga of all time. The anime had issues with consistency, where there are some bits that are like way better than others in terms of their pacing and direction and animation, and this had a little bit of this, where even the least good stuff wasn't bad, it was still good, but there was a lot of inconsistency in how good various scenes are, and sometimes it would kind of be jarring, kind of take you out of it when you get something that's just like out of nowhere, extremely well animated for a few seconds, and then back to what is kind of the norm for the episode. So that inconsistency there is something that doesn't always lead to it looking the best for me. The music I think was good, but it didn't super stand out to me or anything. They really have Present Mike's voice actor on a leash. I feel like he is just showing up everywhere in all of Bones' anime all the time. They have got that guy locked up in the studio. Then from there was something else I wanted to bring up, but now I feel like I'm forgetting it. I usually talk about the opening and ending. The opening, I think, was very good. I think it starts off with like Gero and Kinosaki getting ready and everything, and that's a little bit whatever, but it just keeps getting better and better. So many hints at things, so many things that were really gorgeous visually. So I think that the opening was really good, but not fully my style. Same with the song. I think the song was really good, just not fully my style, personally. So it didn't appeal to me super too much. As far as the ending goes, the song was incredible. The song is so good for the ending, and the ending has, again, so many hints for things, like 100+ chapters into the future, so many small hints at things in the ending, which is a really interesting thing to do. And as the episodes went on, we had like a version with Himakawa, a version with Ureshino, a version even where Naruko sneaks in there, a version at the end with Arashiyama. But my issue with the ending is it is just a lot of Kinosaki, and it leaves it a little bit one note in comparison to, it felt like we should have more. It felt like as the season went along, like instead of having 3 Kinosakis, it should have just been like Kinosaki and Himakawa from the Himakawa arc onward, and then adding in Ureshino and having the 3 of them. But having it be almost all Kinosaki for almost every episode felt a little odd. And again, Kinosaki's my favorite character, but a bit odd. I think that's about it, though. I've probably forgotten things I wanted to talk about, but I think it's fine. I can leave things here. I can be satisfied with this. One last thing is something I always do for my reviews is picking a favorite character, waifu, and relationship. So as far as my favorite character goes, I mentioned at the very beginning, Kinosaki has pretty much always been my favorite character in the series, but Arashiyama is close. I also like some other characters. I really love Ushio. Arashiyama's close, and the anime, Arashiyama really shined here. The voice actress did a wonderful job, and she is very close to dethroning Kinosaki as my favorite character. Arashiyama is very close, but I do think Kinosaki still is my favorite character. And also, as far as waifu goes, he is as well. Kinosaki is also top waifu. Kinosaki is best girl. You don't have to necessarily be a girl to be best girl. Kinosaki is the hottest, I think, to me, for sure. But again, Arashiyama has been so good this season. Also, kind of giving Kinosaki a run for his money. She's kind of also up there with Kinosaki. But Kinosaki, favorite character and favorite waifu. As far as favorite relationship goes, this is difficult, but actually going through this review, you know what I want to say? I kind of want to say, I kind of hyped it up in my mind so much discussing it. I kind of want to say Hikaru and Bug User. I love Hikaru and Mei's relationship. I love Hikaru and Ureshino. I love Hikaru and Arashiyama, but I kind of want to put Hikaru and Ureshino even higher than his relationship with Arashiyama. But but I really love the effect that Bug User had on him and his life and how it was presented. I love that part of the story. I might say my favorite relationship was Hikaru and Bug User. I think I am going to say that that was my favorite. So with that aside, I guess that's it for the review. Kind of turned into a long thing. So if you want to like, comment, and subscribe and all, if you are a fan of the manga or want to get into the manga, I still cover it and will be continuing to cover it. So more manga videos are coming for sure. I need to read the chapters for June still. So what I've been doing since I've been caught up to the manga is waiting every month to do all the chapters from that month at once. So I still need to do the June chapters. I was kind of hoping to after doing this today, so I might go record this right now. So there's going to be that. Plus, whenever we get season 2, I'll talk about season 2 as well. And from there, I guess if you want to help support the channel by sharing around or dropping a super thanks, it's appreciated. If you want to help support the channel by hitting join down below to become a member, going to patreon.com/HakuofTheTubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron, you will get to support the channel that way and help me to continue to make things, but also get your name at the end of videos and get One Piece Bingo a bit early. So thank you to people who are members and patrons. Thank you to chosen regulars Evan Holly and Bertie Wooster, Magical Girls DD Ban and Maru, Cheerwheaton Student David Langstaff, Slayer Candidates SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element Patriardial. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.